Hello, my name is Michele, and you're listening to Profit is a Choice. On the podcast today, I'm going to be sharing with you my focus in my company on scaling. If you've listened to a lot of the past podcasts, you've noticed many of them were on scaling, and my blog posts have been focused on that because it seems to be the question that I keep getting over and over. And I just want to again say to everybody listening, scaling just means growing, and there's more than one way to do that. So my goal is to help the businesses that I work with implement business principles early on as quickly as they can so that they scale with intention and not out of control. And so I hope you enjoy the podcast today, and there are some things that you can learn as you're growing and scaling your own company. Every day, empowered entrepreneurs are taking ownership of their company financial health and enjoying the rewards of reduced stress and more creativity. With my background as a financial software developer, owner of multiple businesses in the interior design industry, educator, and speaker, I coach women in the interior design industry to increase their profits, regain ownership of their bottom line, and to have fun again in their business. Welcome to Profit is a Choice. If you own it, you can change it. And as Einstein stated, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that created them. I have spent 30 years developing and implementing systems in companies of all sizes with 20 years of focus in the interior design industry. Using foundational business principles, I've guided hundreds of creative entrepreneurs to improve the 3 areas of their business that are crucial to creating and sustaining a company, and that is people, process, and profits. And by focusing on these 3, it has resulted in more freedom of their time, a better understanding of their financials, which everybody wants, and working with less stress. But I can promise you it wasn't always this way. You've heard some of my story through other podcasts, through the one with my husband and the ones with my sons. And business isn't easy. It's not easy for anybody. I came from a large corporate background, and I first began my business and was excited to do something creative when I started this one. And then I spent more of my time working in my business doing design and window treatments than I did building systems and repeatable processes, or even focusing on the money or the taxes that I might owe. And you know what? I hear this often, well, Michele, I don't have a business background. Well, I did have a business background, and I still missed the mark. And I hear that over and over. So you're not alone. You don't have to have a business degree to be able to make this work. My company started growing, and then I found myself working long days and nights around the family schedule, missing soccer practice with my kids, all with the belief that I was building this great company. I was spinning plates and hoping nothing fell. My big joke was, I sure hope that these are all paper or plastic so that when they hit the floor, there's not a mess. I became exhausted. I felt defeated. And honestly, I was struggling, all while getting what I hoped for, which was a growing business. That was the irony. I was getting what I wanted. I just didn't know how to handle it. And I was ready to quit. Surely it didn't have to be this difficult. That was the refrain that kept going through my head. Why is this so difficult? And it made no sense to be out of control with all the business coming in and then not making the money that I needed to, all while, helping wealthy clients in their 4th home. And I just remember getting to the point and thinking, this has to stop. There were 2 distinct turning points in my business journey that have allowed me to be where I am today. And I'm going to share those with you. The first was doing my own taxes in the beginning years and realizing that I wasn't making money and valuing my work properly. And thereby I wasn't charging enough or managing my money well. And the pain of having to relay that to my husband almost undid me. I can distinctly remember calling him from the kitchen table, crying my eyes out. And just to be completely vulnerable, I was broken, I was embarrassed, and I was angry with myself. Because in my prior career, I had run a large organization with $1 million budgets. Heck, we had built financial project accounting systems, so I knew how to do it. But for some reason, I just wasn't thinking that way and didn't get it together for my own business. And that's the day that I decided I'm going to turn this business around. I'm going to earn what I'm worth. I'm going to change my processes. I'm going to create some boundaries for my company. And I knew that I could not keep doing what I had been doing. It wasn't possible. And my thinking had to drastically change or I was destined to repeat the year. And so I remember sitting at the kitchen table and doing the work to say, what are good practices in a small business? What do they do? How do they do it? The aha moments of all these things that I knew from my corporate background, but I just had not put them into place in my company. And it required me to take those basic business principles, which I knew, and modify them to fit into my business, a small creative business. And change began immediately because it started with me. I made myself and my family a promise, and I told them I would not put us in that financial position again. And I took massive ownership of every decision in my company, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that's when I really just started owning everything. And it was so freeing. And the process opened my eyes and my heart to the belief that what I owned, I could change. You've probably heard me use the analogy, if I don't like the paint color of my neighbor's house, I can't do much about it except block my view. But if I don't like the paint color of my house and I own the house, I get to change it. And the same thing happens with your business. And change happened that day at my kitchen table. First, my beliefs about myself changed. I started believing that I could run a business. And then my identity changed into a business owner who could take massive action. I decided I was not going to be fearful anymore. I didn't even know I had fear until I started looking at it. Fear that they wouldn't pay me, fear that they would think, who does she think she is? Fear that they wouldn't think I was worth it, or that they would push back. And of course, I do have some of those, but it's not a big deal anymore, because on that day, my actions followed my beliefs. And believe it or not, it came with ease and it came with freedom. I just had to make the decision. The second pivot came at a time where my first business was growing, and I was also scaling a second business. Long days, long nights, lots of travel. I even found myself at one point hiding in my closet. Yes, my closet in the floor in the middle of the night to work while everybody was asleep. And I just had stress upon stress, compounding with more stress. My mind was busy all the time trying to solve problems. I had lack of focus. I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't sleeping enough, just trying to spin those plates again. And my body started giving out. I thought I had to do it all. And the lack of personal care led to a medical crisis in which I almost died. And that was just back in 2012. Within a month, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and had to have critical surgery to save my right arm due to no blood flow. I had torn arteries in my right arm, which is my dominant arm. And I was faced all of a sudden with thinking, I can't even use my arm. I'm going to lose it. And in the middle of all that, they thought I was having a cardiac event. It was really, really a scary time. And so overnight, I found out I needed a cardiologist. I had a great referral and I saw her immediately. And I remember her saying to me, Michele, you didn't get into all of this with your health overnight, and you're not going to get out overnight, but you can make a plan to get out of the stress. And that was good for me to hear. It was good for my husband to hear, because there was no just switch that I could turn and it was all going to go away. And that was my second turning point. I had not been taking care of myself and my business in the best ways while working insane hours to meet the needs of my clients. And I was in trouble. And so once again, my thinking had changed. Doing business the same way I'd been doing it couldn't continue. And so I started focusing on aligning my teams and who I was working with, getting my processes together, managing my money, and all of that took center stage. And I started creating clearer boundaries around my business, and that brought clarity. And that's what all of my clients are saying. I need clarity. There's so much noise. I need to be clear on what I need to do. And that clarity then fueled my confidence in my decision making, and that put me back in control. My business growth is now done with intention and with a plan. The noise is cleared and the overwhelm resolved, and I started loving my business again. When I created this business, my coaching consulting business, it was from all those lessons that I'd learned. Nobody can teach from what they haven't done and haven't figured out. And so I look back and I'm super thankful for failures, mistakes, missteps, miscalculations, because those are the best teachers. They seriously are the best teachers. And what I now do and have done for the last 7, 8, 9 years is focus on people, process, and profits. And that's not always easy, but like my cardiologist reminded me years ago, it takes time. And with consistency, it's possible. And doing this work to own every aspect of your company and make decisions does remove that stress and help you reclaim the precious time and reclaim your health, as well as renew joy and passion for the company that you work so hard to build. Let me tell you, that is a much better way to live and do business than the way that I've done it on and off, in my growing years without a plan. And so I'm going to share with you some ways that you can also gain clarity in your business and hopefully make at least one strategic decision to propel you forward and remove some of your own overwhelm. The method that I teach to my elite coaching clients and to my designers inner circle clients, which are 6 and 7 figure interior design type companies, is I teach them an aim with intent methodology. And I'm going to break down what that means and give you an insight into it. The A stands for align your team. Every great team is comprised of people. When we work with another person, we have formed a team, and a team can make or break a company. We all know that. I mean, you can go back and listen to the podcast with Eileen Hahn. She talks about hiring for, exceptional people. And so I want you to just stop for a minute if you're listening to this podcast and consider your business and who are your team members. I will tell you that as we scale, we usually have 3 types of teams. First, we have internal teams. And an internal team is your employees, the subcontractors who are doing the work in your company, what your company is known for. And so to really have that clarity and focus around our teams, let's ask ourselves a few questions. Do you have the right people on your team? And more importantly, are they in the right positions? Do they understand the company's strategy and the values? And is everybody rowing in the same direction? If you've ever been in a boat and everybody's rowing in one direction and one person is, rowing opposite, you're going to have that drag and that pull. Do you have that going on? What about missing a key contributor? Is there somebody that you really need to push your business forward or to fill in the gap? Maybe start out by building a job description for that person. Determine if that position requires a junior or a senior level resource. Make sure to note characteristics when you hire of the strengths or the values and how they have to align with your overall company. If you have somebody in the wrong position, I want you to go through the process of discovery to see if there might be another position in your company that they could work in more effectively that would support their strengths, but also your company goals. And then if they're not a fit at all, you're going to need to make a decision to part ways. I want to also just really say this. Beware of the trap of hiring a great friend or somebody you know without really having a clear understanding of what the company needs. As we scale, those things will start to show up and they'll be glaring. Another type of team that we'll have is an external team. These are the teams that you work with who are not members of your staff. This could be your customers, because when you work with them, you've created a team. There's a team between you and your customer and your vendors. So look at your client list. Are they your ideal clients? If so, celebrate. And if not, I want you to ask yourself, how did they get through the initial process to work with you? You know what? Maybe they were your ideal client when you started or last year, but now your projects are different and they're no longer your ideal client. That's okay. We just need to make note of it. What do you see now that you wished you had seen earlier or been aware of? That's where we can start creating processes to make sure that we're checking out our teams or our ideal clients properly. Where is maybe the natural end to the relationship? Where can we get to a stopping point and let go and move on? For vendors, make sure that their way of working aligns with the output and professionalism that you require of your own company. Because if you work with others who don't support your brand, that's a big deal. So we want to work with other companies, other vendors, and other people where our brand is held at the highest regard and esteem, because theirs is as well. So if you're missing craftspeople or positions, start thinking about those external teams. Are they where they need to be for your business to grow and do what you need to do? That may also mean that there are areas where you need to subcontract. These are not all employee staff positions. It's about the work that gets done. And the third type of team is a support team. And these are the teams for people that are not working in your company on a day-to-day basis, but they are the ones who offer support. It could be a bookkeeper, an accountant, a lawyer, your financial wealth manager, a coach, a banker, or others. And as you've done earlier, thinking about the other two types of teams, identify any missing support team members. Is there anybody who is no longer supporting you? You may start off with a professional at one level and your business may outgrow them and you may have to go get another one. So do an audit of your support team. If you listen to the podcast with Jennifer Smith, she talked about creating a board of directors. That's a good one to go back and to revisit and to see if there are any that are missing for you. Your team needs to change as your business grows, and we need to be constantly evaluating our company needs against the teams. The second thing is to ignite your process. Like our discussion on teams, our processes can fall into those same three categories: internal, external, and support. Internal processes are your standard operating procedures for how you do your core work. As a designer, these processes are like your consultation plan, your design, how you do your project and order management, all the way through install and follow-up. What does that look like for you? These are documentations of how work moves through your business from concept to completion. And then as your business grows, the processes need to evolve. The processes that we have now, again, like Ideal Client and everything else, may not be the same ones we started with. And so just because we've done it doesn't mean we don't need to now review it and revise. As the business grows, the processes evolve. As your clients change your way of doing business and you change your way, you might need to ramp up to meet higher expectations. And when we try to keep the same processes that we used when our company began, yet the needs of our clients have changed, we're bound to miss the expectations in some way. And we can actually be missing out on capturing the value that we provide to our clients. Next, let's look at external processes. These are the processes that refer to how we work with those outside of our company, but on our core business. For example, what is the process that you might have to work with an electrician or a builder or a window treatment specialist or the upholsterer or the GC or any other vendor? Do you have those defined, and is the output measurable? Do you know if you're making money on those? Do you know if it's costing you money when you work with those particular vendors because the process is broken? When our businesses start to grow quicker than we can wrap our arms around, which I hear very often, I feel like I can't wrap my arms around the business, or I might hear things like, I feel like the business is outgrowing me. What we usually see are broken and missing processes. This is one of the main areas. Even they've said 85% of our problems are process and only 15% are people. And if we don't go back and look at the process, then we're missing a fantastic opportunity to change the way that things are happening in our business. I know I go back and look at processes even internally over and over again. And my assistant and I, we're constantly updating our standard operating procedures for how we do everything. And so if the business does grow quickly and you're scaling fast, it is easy to become reactive instead of proactive and then miss tasks and deadlines. And so learning to focus on a consistent way to manage your work can be freeing for the entire staff. We are constantly looking at project management software, not just client management software, and the coaching that we do. The next part of Ignite Your Processes is the support teams or the support processes. Support processes are for things like marketing or your financials, HR, legal. It's kind of the business piece of what you're doing. Do you have those standard operating procedures? Do you have the processes in place for those things to work? Some of those items may not be things you do every day or even every month. And so knowing who does what, when it's due, I go in and immediately, just one of my quick processes is I know when I'm going to meet with my accountant. And I know that I need to reach out usually about, a month prior to when we want to meet. So I put reminders in my calendar at the beginning of the year, call the accountant here, 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 and here. Plan to meet here, 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 and here. Have these documents ready by here and send, so that I know exactly what I have to do in that support process to make sure that I've got my accounting done and on time. For example, do you even know what the bookkeeper needs? And do you monitor your financials in a way? That was the reason that I created the Understanding Your Financials course, is to create a process so that you would understand how to look at them and how to analyze the data and what was needed. So again, just like our teams, processes evolve over time, and we can hone them, and we're constantly reviewing them. And what we don't want to do is get into the trap of blaming a person when really the issue is a process. And then the third part of the aim with intent strategy is managing your money. The M is for manage your money. And our profitability is created by the choices we make. Hence this entire podcast. Decisions about our teams, decisions about our processes, that's going to affect how profitable we are or how profitable we are not. And the first part of managing our money, we're going to look at what? Pricing. That's the amount that we charge. And not just how much we charge, but how we charge it can make or break us. So, we all start off at some point, many of us, by charging by the hour for everything and then trading hours for dollars. And most of us, honestly, I think we do need to start there so that we can learn and develop our process so that we know what it takes. Otherwise, how do you price something that you don't even know what you're doing? But what you find over time is that if we price that way, the only lever to make more money with that model is to work more hours or keep inflating your hourly rate. If not, we actually are losing money by working smarter and quicker, and nobody wants that. Why should we be penalized for getting better at our craft? And so learning to really tighten up your processes and manage those outcomes and then price for value can be an awesome solution. We have to be careful of the suggestions that are currently rampant. They just say, here's a dollar amount, use this and go. Because your pricing strategy, that strategic pricing, has to be really thought of thoughtfully. It needs to be considered, process-driven, and have support documents, things like a letter of agreement and expectations that actually support the way that you work. Review your process to develop a design plan. Detail it out and see what you would charge for that work hourly. And then create a value rate that allows for the work to be done for the risk of what you don't know. That's huge. And what is fair and reasonable for both you and your client. The second thing under money is we're going to look at money management. And this is watching money come in and out of your company. So money management and cash flow, that's two areas where I'll tell you most businesses that are growing start to struggle. Have you ever seen an episode of Shark Tank? Because on there, most of the product-based companies are asking for funds to cover inventory. And I've seen many designers get in over their head with the cost of goods. They take money from client A for a product that they don't have to pay for, and they're going to hold that money for 3 or 4 months. And then they end up using that money, sometimes unknowingly, to run the company. And then they're in debt and have to take from client B to cover the cost of the product from client A, and the spiral begins. I sometimes joke and say, have you ever heard of robbing Peter to pay Paul? Well, it stinks when you're Peter and Paul, and that's kind of the situation. So managing our money is imperative for a growing company. Cash is king. One of the number one reasons businesses go out is they don't have enough cash flow. And there's a difference between selling and having a cash flow. So being able to know at a moment's notice where your money is, what is earmarked for, how much you have to spend, and when the next dollar is coming in, just imagine the freedom of that. It's exactly what I help the clients do that I work with. We want to put you in a position, and you can do this too. I use the Profit First method. I'm a Profit First certified coach. And the method literally has you save your profit, save your salary, save for your taxes so that you're not taken by surprise. Remember those pivoting moments that I did earlier that I told you about? Profit First is, I had started my own system, and Profit First is even a more well thought out system than the one I did, and it solves that problem. And so you can actually start today telling your money what to do instead of spending without a plan. Look over your bank account. Look at your credit card statements just for the last month and scrutinize every purchase. Were they really necessary? Would you have rather had whatever that item is or that money in your profit or in your salary? And what changes can you quickly make? Another issue I see here before we jump into the next section is not knowing if you can pay yourself. I see that all the time. Michelle, we're making money. I've got money in the bank, but I'm fearful of taking it out. I don't even know how to pay myself. And so understanding how money flows in and out and what is owed where will give you that freedom without stress to pay yourself and feel good when the money comes into your home. And lastly, under money, we're going to look at your financial goals. Do you set firm financial goals for your company? Again, I'm shocked, and I've done it myself, and I think I even shocked myself. But why are we so willing as entrepreneurs to take the leftovers, the leftover profit if there is any, instead of making that firm and steady salary that we talked about a few minutes ago. Talk about letting yourself feel resentful of your company and losing your passion quickly. I know because I've done it. In the first business I had, I remember having that moment again at the kitchen table doing our taxes, and I realized I'd lost money in the company. I hadn't paid myself. I was doing all these crazy things for other clients. And that day I just called my husband, and he listened, and then he said to do what I knew to do, stop taking care of everyone else and not taking care of my own company, that wasn't sustainable. We are here to create businesses that are long-term sustainable. And our sustainability is a direct result of our gross profit, right? Our responsibility, as Mike McCalloway said, is our sales. But that gross profit, that's the money we have to really run the company on. And that's what makes us sustainable. And so that day at the table, I had a meeting with myself. I invite you to have a meeting with yourself. And I decided on that day that I was going to do business better, to do what I knew to do, create a business that was healthy and sustainable and not anemic. I had created an anemic business and it was bleeding. And that is what I do not want for you. If you have not created a detailed financial goal for your company, start today. You can always go back and even listen to the Backwards Financials with Tracy Taylor. There's a podcast where we work backwards to create some financial goals for her company. Look at your income statement from last year. Look at the percentage of your total revenue that went to cost of goods and gross profit. If your gross profit isn't enough to sustain the company and pay you while maintaining, company profit as well, start there. Start working to reduce your cost of goods and increasing your revenue. And then as you move down that income statement, take another look at expenses like we mentioned earlier to scrub those expenses. See, the expenses are coming out of the same money bucket, gross profit, as your pay. And so every time we choose to spend money in the company, we're setting priorities. And if your pay is a priority, we need to make it one. Create a hard goal. Make it reasonable, of course, and you can increase it as you go for how much you want to be paid. And then set aside the money for taxes and for profit in the company to keep it sustainable, and make sure you're bringing home that paycheck. It will change your relationship with your company. Then revisit your teams and processes to make any necessary adjustments to that goal. And working on those three things in my company, getting my teams right, aligning my teams, igniting my processes, and managing my money, those three areas have allowed me to have freedom, because the needs in our businesses change as they grow and as they pivot. And again, what I need today and what you need today may not even be what you need in 3 years, and that's okay. So the willingness to know what to look for, analyze the data, what's needed to back up the decision, and the confidence to act will put your company in a position to grow with intention and ease. And that's why I'm so excited to share with you the new Designers Inner Circle. The Designers Inner Circle is for the 6 to 7 figure interior design firms and those in the interior design industry that want to get your team, your processes, and your money aligned and working for you so that you can regain that clarity in where your firm is actually headed, confidence in your decision making, and then regain control of the business. And when you join my tribe of committed business owners, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get knowledge on how to analyze your company. I want you to learn how to think, not just do what somebody tells you to do, but I want you to really learn how to think and create a strategy for your own company so that you own the direction you're going and that you are listening to your own heart and your own gut in your decision making, not just, following along. I've done that. That didn't work for me. And so I know how important it is to be personally aligned with where your company is going. And that's what I want to help you do. And again, you're going to be basing this on data, not just a gut feeling. We're going to listen to the gut, but we're going to have data to back you up. And then you can plan out your future in a way that you can trust. When I work this way, it reduces that feeling of graspy. I don't know if you all recognize that term, but it's where you feel like you're grasping at straws. You just kind of reach out and try to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this. It's almost like I think of a spider or something with tentacles, and it's like it's all over the place. And I want to help you stop that noise and learn to listen to yourself, and then give you the tools and equip you and educate you and empower you and encourage you to be able to trust yourself as the owner of the company. I want you to fully own that company. And so in the Designers Inner Circle, we have all kinds of fun, but we have 2 meetings a month. We're having an event in the fall in Atlanta, and downloadable documents, education, and there is just this great team that is going to move you forward. And of course, I'm going to be coaching in there, and you'll have access to me. And I would love to have an opportunity to talk to you about that if that's something that you're looking for. From my own experience, I knew I wanted to not just learn by myself, but I want to be a part of a group. And I'm in multiple masterminds for that same reason, just because I wanted to be with something bigger than just me and a group of people who understood my business and my challenges. And we may not all be in the same place, but we were all on the same journey. And many of us can feel very alone. And the bigger your business gets, the more alone you feel. My son said it this way. He said, sometimes it's possible to feel alone in the middle of a crowded room. And I don't want you to have that isolation. And so with that goal of connection in mind, that's why we're also having a live event here in the Atlanta area in the fall. You heard the podcast with Jessica and Virginia of Toledo Geller. I mean, they are a dynamic business duo, and their business grew so quickly that they found that their financials weren't in order and didn't have a grasp on some parts of the company due to that growth. And it became apparent very quickly that their support staff wasn't able to serve the business due to that growth. And we brought on some new support teams for them. And within months, we were able to help them feel the stress relief of knowing that they were going to be able to pay their employees, pay themselves, cover the taxes, and have a profit. And, they'll tell you over and over, the freedom now is to go do what they love, which is design, knowing that the business is working for them and not against them. And that's been priceless. Again, we're now making even larger goals, knowing that the business structure and foundation is going to be supportive of the growth. We know it's going to hold up. And Jessica and Virginia feel much more confident in moving forward. And so I just want to invite you, if this sounds something that's interesting to you, reach out to me. If not, and the timing's not right, start going back through this. Go through the different podcasts. Listen to the questions that I ask, and you're going to be able to do some of the same things. This program has worked for a lot of high-achieving interior designers. Catherine came to me with a successful business, lots of leads, and she was overwhelmed with the quick growth that she experienced. Due to some past decision-making, she needed to get out of business debt, turn a healthy profit, and plan going forward with intent. She needed to know what she wanted and then even have an idea of what was possible. And we put together a plan, and she executed it with her staff. And 8 months later, she surpassed all of her goals, all of her company goals. And now we're strategizing for even more. We are actually creating goals that she thought were 3 years out, and we've now accomplished those in 8 months. And so give your business, the boost that it needs. That at some point, we have to change our thinking and we have to get help. I know I have a business coach, and I look for others to help me because I can only see what I see. And sometimes I think, oh my gosh, I've been doing this. I don't even know of another way. Even if I know my way's not working, I don't always know, a better way to do it. And I need that outside look in. You don't have to have a business degree to run a business. I hear that all the time, as well as a pushback. I mentioned it earlier, not even close. But what you do need is a good business understanding and support. You don't need a full degree. That's just not the case. I have a business degree and I still did some things wrong. And others have shared that same sentiment. So don't let the lack of a degree stop you from reaching your full potential as a business owner. Some people might say, oh, I can't work with a group program. I don't want to work with other people. And I've been in those group programs. I've been in some that were great, and I've been in some that were terrible. And so I do want you to know, if you're interested in talking about the Designers Inner Circle, it is a high-touch group platform. It is not low-touch at all. And you will have access to me. I'm going to be active. We have live calls. We do all the things to help you move forward. You will feel completely loved on. But I can tell you that this is work. It's work, whether you do it by yourself, whether you join a group, whether you do it with a coach, or no matter how you do it, it is work. And, I think many of us start our businesses thinking that we're going to get to do the fun parts the most, right? And we've said often, the design, the workroom, the draperies, the upholstery, some of that, it's only 20 to 30% of what we do. The rest of it is running the business. And that is a lot of work. And if we're not spending time getting those business practices and processes and teams and money management and alignment so that it can support us, we're going to spend a lot less time doing what we love. But when those things are working for us, then we get to enjoy, the passion that brought us here in the first place. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about the AIM with Intent methodology, and you're going to now be able to go back. If nothing else, I want you to look at your teams, internal, external, and support. Are the right people in the right places doing the right work? And then I want you to look at your processes. Let's ignite them. Let's get them on fire. Make them work for you. Where are the processes that are working? Where are the ones that are not? Where are the holes? Where are the changes that need to be made? And then make a plan to get those in place. And then lastly, manage your money. This goes all the way from your pricing to your cash flow to your metrics and your analysis. The best way to make money is to sell the ideal product or service to the ideal client at the ideal price, and then manage the heck out of it. And that's what I help clients do. So if that's something that you need, reach out. Because remember, profit never happens by accident.